Right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mills Rogers, aka Mr. Raj, aka Coach Rogers. Today, for our Message to Movement Expert Spotlight, I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing Odell Bizzell. So, let me tell you a little bit about Odell Bizzell. Odell Bizzell is an ex jail cop, a la Rick Ross, that works with companies and organizations to show their employees how to get excited about coming to work. He's been a professional speaker since 2008, has worked with leaders of global brands like Nike, ESPN, the K-Yow Cancer Fund, and is a two-time TEDx speaker. I know there's a lot of y'all out there that are very interested in becoming a TEDx speaker. Well, this is your guy right here. He has also coached thousands of people online through his webinars to help monetize their brands by obtaining consulting and speaking contracts. Again, I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing Odell. What's up, Odell?
What's going on, Mills? How you feeling, man?
Oh man, I'm excited, man. This is like to have you on the show, man, it's going to be super dope. And so, again, I appreciate you coming on. And so, Odell, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I think the best place to start would be when I had no idea what I was doing. I know with the internet being what it is, a lot of people jump into things and they think they know what they're getting into, when in actuality, there's just a lot of opinions out there. But I got started very early, very young. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to have my own business, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'm in college, majoring in communication, just giving presentations because it's a part of my degree. And didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to do something special. Um, I spoke at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, for their VP of finance, and I was 20, Mills, and he said, "You're probably one of the best presenters that I've ever seen. You should maybe think about doing this." But I was 20, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." Like I did, I just said thank you and kept going. And then when I graduated, my public speaking professor asked me, he said, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I said, I don't know. I don't have a job right now. I'm just trying to figure life out. And he said, you should be a professional speaker. And I was 22 at that time. And because I was graduating, I thought, well, okay, maybe I can make some money doing this. And he kind of gave me this directive. You don't need to be famous, but you need to have a message, and you need to have an audience that's willing to pay for that message. And so I started speaking at colleges about 8 months later, and the rest is kind of history.
So, prior to that, did you even know that speakers can get paid, that they can make a lot of money and that sort of thing?
No, I didn't know that it was a profession. I thought it was a cherry on the top of an already successful career. I thought that people that spoke were successful, and then companies and groups would pay them to come and talk. I didn't. I thought if you won an Olympic gold medal, that somebody will bring you in to talk because you did something amazing. I didn't know that most people that get paid to speak are not famous and are not celebrities. I didn't know that. I started discovering that, but yeah, I had no idea, man.
Mm. And that's a good point right there because oftentimes I'm sure you have, but I've run into speakers where they feel like, oh, they got to have the title, they got to have notoriety and all kind of other stuff. And yeah, a lot of times it's like, hey, you just have to kind of be available for the most part. And so with that, somebody that's looking to get into speaking, what should they really, what should be their first step, or their first couple of steps?
Yeah, I think to piggyback on you, and I'll answer that question too. But to piggyback on what you said, so you don't have to be traditionally famous. You don't have to be well known. You don't have to be TikTok famous. You don't have to be social media famous or anything like that. But what you do have to have is you have to have a combination of credibility and expertise related to an audience. So even though you don't have to have a million people following you online, you don't have to have a fancy website, but you do have to have some sort of credibility and expertise. So if I was starting today, and remember when I started, this was pre social media the way that it is today. I think we had Facebook, obviously, but it wasn't like it is today. And so it was a different type of crop. And so if I was starting today, I would focus on my credibility of whatever I wanted to do. I think sometimes people get into this, Mills, and I'm sure you've seen it, and they talk good, or the grandmama told them in Sunday school that, oh baby, you good and you need to go, or somebody said that they was called to minister or something of that nature. And then you've got people that are professionals that seen people come in and stink it up, and so they think, oh well, if they can do that, obviously I can do that. And you kind of just jump into the world head first and think, well, I can talk and I can put some words together and then I can be a professional speaker. But like I tell people, that's like you watching a basketball game, watching a bad team in the NBA play and say, you know what? They got beat pretty bad by that team. They could use me. No, being a professional is totally different than just being a hobbyist. And I think a lot of people jump into this as a hobby. They think, oh, well, this would be cool to do. But if you're thinking about it, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, if you follow Mills, you need to decide, where am I credible and where's my expertise? And point to that. If you can point to that by a skill set that you have with your credibility, something that you've done, something you've accomplished with your credibility, then your expertise, how you can explain what you do, then you start there, because most people don't have that.
Mhm. And so for you, you talk about it going from being a hobby to a profession. Did you experience that?
No, I didn't, only because of how I started and where I started. So most people start from the standpoint of, ooh, I saw that person doing that. I could probably do that too, but I'm not sure. I was ignorant as a kid graduating college, and I had these older people tell me, "Wow, you're good. You should go do that." And I didn't see the opportunity until they opened my eyes to it. I wasn't looking for it. And so I was crazy enough to believe in myself at that point because I didn't know any better. Like I didn't know that you needed to have an expertise other than being good on stage. All I thought was, hey, you just got to be good on stage. You got to have some energy. You got to tell some jokes. You have to be able to quote some smart people and make the crowd feel something. That's all I knew. So when I came in, my expertise was high energy, really good speaker, very articulate, and that was it. And that can get you paid. And so I didn't really fall into the trap of not focusing on the art. And so like the art of speaking, most people are not good at it because they don't practice it. Because they, again, like we said earlier, they just think, oh, well, they can do that. I can do that. I can just stand on stage and do that. But the professional says, oh, I got to be tight. Like professionals know their lines and know their marks. So I early on, just because that was all I had, Mills, I got to be the best. Like I didn't have a beard. I didn't have a sprinkle with gray hairs. I didn't have the bald head. Like I was a kid. So I said, I got to be the best, man. I got to be better than somebody else that's been doing this for a long time. So I have to come in and do different things. I also knew my audience. Speaking for college students at the time, I needed to have high energy. I needed to be relatable. I needed to be somebody that they could look up to and would be close enough to be relatable to. So all of those things culminated for, okay, this is how Odell can have his launch pad. But I didn't have the some of the other obstacles that people had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, who are you speaking to now? Because you mentioned the colleges and everything, and that you had, oops, high energy and everything. And so, who are you speaking to now?
I've gone corporate finally.
Hmm.
It's one of those situations where looking back on it, I would, once I got into the business, I saw kind of a trajectory. I said, I'm in my 20s now, I'm young. A corporate audience is probably not going to see me as an expert. But these college students, I'm a couple of chapters ahead of them. And this is important to note. People hire people who they want their audience to look up to.
Mm,
So
good point.
at that moment, I graduated from college. I'd done some things. I had my own business for a little while I was in school. So I'd done some things, and I written a couple of books too in my 20s. So they were like, wow, like this guy, maybe you can be like him type deal. Versus a corporate audience is going to look at me as, oh, you're one of my kids. You're my kid. Like you're 25. What are you going to teach me? So now I'm speaking more to corporate audiences. The fact that even when I tell people I've been speaking professionally for 17 years, they're like, "What? How do you do that?" Like I started very young, but speaking to financial companies a lot, nonprofits, doing a lot of consulting with them, and organizations that host conferences. Those are my primary clients now.
And so, have the skills that you gained from speaking to college audiences, would you say that they've carried over well to those corporate type audiences?
1,000,000%. A million. If you're listening to this and you wonder, can I speak to corporate? If you smile when you talk, that's going to be something different because most companies, just corporate environments, and I've never worked in one. I never had that opportunity, but most corporate environments are very stuffy. And so when you make somebody laugh, when you point attention to something obvious about yourself, and it's kind of self-deprecating humor a little bit, they laugh. When you talk about your family, you're like, boy, these kids today, I don't understand them. In a corporate audience, that hits because they're thinking the same thing. And so the ability to be entertaining, and this is something to note, doesn't have to do with you making people laugh or you singing or dancing a jig. It's relatability.
Hmm.
That's entertainment. If I
Hmm.
relate to you, now I'm engaged in what we're talking about. If you have a daughter and I have a daughter, and you got a teenage daughter, oh my, bless you. Oh my goodness, you got woo, I got two of them. You got two of, now we're engaged. Now you're entertained. Now you're wondering what I'm going to say next. You know what I mean? So if you have high energy, you can bring it into a corporate environment as a speaker and absolutely do well because that's what they're looking for. And most speakers are not very dynamic. All you have to do is pull up a TED Talk. I challenge anybody here, pull up a TED Talk. Most of the TEDx talks are just like a professor or somebody reading a dissertation out loud. There's hello, and maybe it's got a cool hook at the beginning or something, but most of it is delivered as if I am reading my dissertation out loud and I'm trying to defend it. And most people don't want to hear that.
And so, I like that you brought up TED Talk, because I know something that you've been doing recently is focusing on TED Talks, TEDx's, and even though you're very accomplished, very accomplished, you've taken on this endeavor of getting into TEDx's. And so, how did that come about?
It I got mad. I got mad, man. And this is something that unless we're having a private conversation, a lot of speakers don't talk about. I'm very competitive. I come from a sports background. So even when I got into speaking, I would look at somebody else and I would say, wow, I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're very good. They're not entertaining. They're boring as watching paint dry. How are they getting paid for this? That stuff will go through my head. Of course, you're not supposed to say that publicly because you're supposed to be distinguished and dignified and all that stuff. But I wasn't like that. So That's how I kind of viewed speaking. I viewed it as a very high level, intellectual, entertaining competition. And so when I first heard about the whole TED thing years ago, with Simon Sinek, Start with Why, I started looking into it and I said, okay, maybe I can do a TED talk. And I applied to maybe 4 years ago. We're talking early 2010s. And I kept getting rejected. And so I got mad for that. I'm like, why wouldn't they reject me? All of these people are boring. Like, everybody's boring. And respectfully, if you've done a TED talk and you're boring, my bad. But most of their it's like everybody reads from the same manual and they think, one time I thought I was going to die. Harvard study, and it's the same, like it's the same thing. So initially, you get mad, you want to break up with the person before they break up with you. Like, forget this TED stuff. I don't care nothing about that. Like, wow, whatever. So that's how I was, early 2010s. So then I get into speaking, get in my career, everything's going well. I start coaching people, and I coached a few speakers that got TEDx talks, and one in particular, she asked me, she said, should I go after a TEDx talk? I was like, sure, do whatever you want. Like, it's fine. You don't need it to get paid, but hey, do your thing. About a year later, after our coaching ended and all of that, she reached out to me and said, my TED talk is doing well. Have you seen it? I was like, no, I hadn't seen it. Clicked on it. She had over like 80,000 views. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay. Let me look at it. It was a very good TED talk. It was very different. And she said, Odell, all of these companies are calling me. I'm like, all like who? Dell Corporation, Microsoft, Walmart, all these companies. And I said, really? I said, well, what are they saying? And she said, well, they want to bring me in to speak. I don't know what to ask for. The most that I've ever been paid to speak was $5,000. And this company wants to offer me 15 and 25. And so this was a few years ago. And I was thinking to myself, I'm very happy for her. But on the other end, I'm like, I need to do a TED talk. Like, I need to do a TED talk. And so I got back into the learning phase. And this is a lesson for everybody. You you never know everything about everything. You never do. And so, one of the best things to do, no matter what level you're at in your profession, in speaking or consulting or whatnot, is back up and listen. Like, listen to what's going on. And so I would see clients that I helped her get her highest paid speaking engagement at that time, 5,000. She went in less than 3 years from getting compensated with gift bags, meals, to $5,000 speeches, to now she's doing five-figure keynotes, five-figure 35-minute talks. And you and I know, especially in the education space, if you get in five figures, you got to work. Like, they're going to work the heck out of you. And she's getting like all this stuff. So in my head, I said, I need to do that. And here's why. And it'll go back to what I said at the beginning: credibility. Most people don't know who I am outside of the niche that I've created. Most people don't know who I am. So the TED platform and other platforms give you the opportunity to stand on them, and then for more people to discover you, and more people need to know you. So that was my mindset. I said, okay, I've been playing around with this. I need to figure out how to get accepted, because I got rejected 4 times. And so then I just made it a point earlier this year. I said, I'm just going to apply to as many as makes sense. And I ended up applying to 6 events, filling out 9 applications, and got accepted to 2.
Mhm. Yeah, I've looked into TEDx talks. When I first started speaking, I got rejected by two of them, and then I also saw the amount of work it took. Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, screw that. I'll try to find some paid gigs instead of doing some TEDx talks and everything. But so with the TEDx, because over the years, I've encountered a number of speakers, and that's kind of like their thing. Like, man, I want a TEDx talk. Now, oftentimes, though, they feel like it's going to just launch their career, even though they're new to speaking. And so what would you have to say about that? What is your insight or wisdom? Like, will it just make them take off, or is it something else to it?
Avoid the scammers and grifters. Avoid them. Scammers and grifters will tell you all you got to do is get a TED talk. Soon as your thing goes live and you share it out to your community, oh, it's just going to blow up. It's not it. Avoid the scammers and grifters. So I'll say that. Nothing is just like that. Oh, if you just found the love of your life, life will be perfect. No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to find the love of your life, one. And then once you find them, surprise, it's not easy. Oh, once you have a baby, everything will be fine once you get that. No, 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 no. Everything worth doing is very hard to do. So most people, to your point, oh, if I could just get a TED talk, then you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to be seen. Although the average TED talk gets less than 1,000 views. Why is that? A couple of reasons. One, TED cranks out more content than you can imagine. They crank out so much content. There's TEDx and then there's TED. So it's two different entities. They are connected, but TEDx is independently franchised individuals and organizations that have TEDx. And TED is like the big conference and all of that. So people sometimes get them confused. They think one is the same, and they're
Right.
not. So that's one thing. The other thing is, like I said before, most of them aren't good. They're sound, they are methodical, but they're not entertaining. They're not good. So if you're a brand new speaker, you're not going to get up there and crush it no matter how good you think you are, because there's a process. Like you said, it's hard work. You have to script your talk. Then you have to memorize your talk. Then you have to deliver your talk in the confines of pomp and circumstance and a conference. Whatever TED event you go to, it's like a conference. So I would suggest, if you want to do a TEDx talk, go to one in your local area. Just pay the ticket and go and see everything that's going on. It's difficult. So if you're not used to speaking publicly and you're thrown into this gauntlet of rehearsals and dress rehearsals and scripts and all that, you're going to be overwhelmed. So that's one thing that I'll say, just to get that out the way. As far as getting your talk live and all of that, you have to promote it. Getting a TED talk now is like traditional publishing, like getting your book traditionally published. People think, oh man, if I could just get that book deal, everything will be great. No, when you get traditionally published, they release it when they want to. They control the content. All of this is the same with TED. And if they give you an advance of money, they expect you to use that money to market, not pay your bills. Most people use it to pay their bills. So when you're getting a TEDx talk, it's like you're a traditionally published speaker, but you're not getting paid. So if you don't market that thing, you won't get paid. And that's what happens. People have these TED Talks, they got 800 views. And they're like, oh man, this thing didn't work. It's like, nah, you didn't market it the right way. So if you're brand new, focus on your credibility and your expertise. If you can get a TED Talk, if you know somebody, do it. But odds are it won't align with your brand. That's another thing people do. They'll do a TED talk on organic farming or something, but they want people to hire them to be a leadership speaker. And so there's a mismatch with the messaging. So there's a lot of nuance to it. And so if you don't have a strategy, then it probably won't work well for you.
So, Dale, I know you've worked with, I guess, literally hundreds of speakers, people that were very interested in getting into speaking. You've done an incredible amount of webinars and everything. And so, we got people that's listening in this evening that are dying to blow up as speakers. And so, based on the extensive experience you have, what typically holds a lot of people back from taking it to the level that they want to take it to as speakers?
One, they're not good. So there's that. Two, they're not connected. And three, they don't understand sales.
So the first one, you said that they're not good.
They're not
Now,
good.
a lot of speakers, they feel like, hey, I can rock a stage, I can drop mics and everything.
Mhm.
In your opinion, what makes them not good? Because I'm sure they feel like they are good.
Yeah, everybody does, right? Everybody, I mean, do ugly people know they ugly? I don't know.
Well, some of them do.
Some of them do, some of them don't. Most, so we're raised to be, and what I mean by good, good is subjective, obviously. Like good is subjective. And good doesn't mean that, if you're the type of speaker that gets people on their feet and gets them waving their hands and doing something, that doesn't mean you're necessarily better than somebody else. What I mean by good is you have a match to the audience. You are relatable to the audience. Most people, when they start, just like when we start our lives, we're all worried about us. When you're good, you know your audience and you relate to your audience. You know what stories to tell your audience. You know what resonates. So when I'm saying good, I don't want people to get all up in arms or you think my style is different. All that, styles make fights, styles make speakers. Your personality is going to be yours. I am going to get up there and talk to you like, yeah, depending on the audience, if it's an audience of older people, I'm like the younger kid that comes in and just cracks some jokes and has some fun. If I'm speaking to a younger group, I'm like the uncle that have you cracking up at the cookout and make you think about stuff. Like I'm different in different environments because I'm good and I understand my environment. Most people don't study enough to be good. So that's what I mean by good. Like they're not good. They're like, "Oh, I got a story. I got a story." Everybody has one. Everybody has multiple stories. But does your story relate to the audience? Remember, you need an audience and you need a message. You need an audience that's willing to pay for the message. So they're not good. Secondly, they're not connected. Speaking, like any performative business, is more about a referral than it is about a cold contact. You can get business from cold contacts, but that goes into the third part, the third reason why what stops people. But most people that aren't connected to an audience that pays, they're going to struggle because you're going to find out really, really fast. This is a whole lot of people currently doing what you want to do already and have been doing what you want to do for a long time. And you're not competing with Les Brown and Eric Thomas and Tony Robbins and you're not competing with those people. So who you're competing with is Mills Rogers, Odell Bizzell, and Stan Pearson and Arel Moody and all these amazing people that you've never heard of. That's who you're competing with. And so it's hard to, if you ever been into a fight, if you ever been in a fight, you can't see the person you fighting, you probably gonna lose.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand that you have to be connected, then that's another thing that's going to stop you. And then lastly, they don't understand sales. This is a sales business. This is not, oh, I think I have a message. I think I have a story. I think I'm pretty good. And if you have something, just think about me. Nah, it's not that. It might start like that, but then you get their number, you get their name, you get their email, you get every possible way you can contact that human, and you hit them up on the way that they prefer. And then if they don't respond to you with the way that they say that they prefer, hit them up on something else. And you're constantly asking other people to pay you. If you don't understand those three things, you'll never win unless you get lucky, and luck is not a strategy.
a lot of people, I'm glad you brought up that you're constantly asking people to pay you, because a lot of people enter this thinking like, hey, people got to come to me. I call it the walk-up business. And it rarely happens, unless you've been in the game for a long time. I see we got Principal Kafele on, and that's one guy that's been in the game for a long time. So yeah, he gets people coming to him, but he's been doing it for a very, very long time. Whereas, the majority of us, yes, we have to let people know that, hey, I'm available. And like you said, hey, I'm your competition. And I've told speakers that have come to me for help that, hey, you're competing with me. Your stuff needs to look on par like maybe my website or whatever else. Because again, I'm your competition. Now, with that being said, and I want to get your thoughts on this, there's plenty to go around, right?
100%. It's more to go around than you possibly think. I've been doing this for a long time, and I discover more opportunities. They're overwhelming. It's so many. There's so many. So when I say that, like, I'm your competition, Mills are your competition, naming all these other people, these are people that your buyers are comparing you to. Not necessarily that there aren't any other opportunities. There are so many opportunities, and you can get into an opportunity and never see somebody. Like, I've spoken in colleges for years, and many of my friends that I met in the college space, we never competed for the same contract because there's so many. There's so many. It's rare that I saw, oh, you spoke here like 5 years ago. Oh, okay, great. I'm speaking here now. It's a totally different person. And there's a lot of turnover in event planning also. So the same people don't always book the same events. And the bigger the organization and company, they have a third party that helps. So there's so many variables into it. The opportunities are endless. The thing that we have to understand and know is, just like in the entertainment business, we've got to be willing to learn from the people that were there first, or that are currently going through it, and watch out for the people that are not in it, that are claiming that they know what
Mm.
it is. Because I've been, and I'm, every time I have the opportunity, I tell people, anything that you've done, more than likely, not, I haven't done everything. I'm never going to say that, but as far as speaking goes, coaching courses, I've probably bought it more than once. So I can tell you this, man, I probably shouldn't have done that one. Or if you're thinking about doing, you might want to think again. You might want to think twice about doing that one, because everybody's out here and they know the opportunities, but they're not in in the weeds. They're not in the weeds with you. So be very careful about that, but be open. Be open to somebody like Mills that is offering you coaching, and be willing to invest in it. That was one of the things. Again, I was too young to understand that. I was too young to understand my limitations. Like, I was 20. The first conference I went to, I was 23. Um, I bought a DVD that was $250. I maxed out my little $300 credit card to buy that DVD. It was yes, a DVD. This is before courses were like they are now. So I bought a DVD. The guy said, "Hey, you should go to this conference and showcase, and you get to showcase in front of decision makers, and then voila, you get speeches all over the country." And I was like, "Okay, okay, what do I need to do?" So I looked that up, and it said, "Okay, you got to pay $3,000 to showcase and set up a table and all this stuff." I didn't have it. I said, "Hey, grandma, you love me, don't you? I need $500." And my wife, who was in school still, "Hey, baby, you get the refund check. Let me get $500." Like, "Mom, Dad, let me." I was like, "Let me get this money, because here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to this conference. I'm gonna pay $3,000, and then I'm gonna get like 5 speeches, and I'll be able to pay y'all back. And then those 5 speeches." So I had all of that in my head before, because I was like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." And that very first investment of $3,000, Notice the small one led me to an idea that I had to pay more for. That's something for another day. But I paid for that, and I got one speech, paid me $3,200 within a year. Got one. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, this works. I just need to do more of it. So I went to 9 more of those conferences over the next few years because I said I just needed more, just need to do more, just need to do more, need to do more till I ran out of money, till I ran out of favors. I just kept doing it. Most people aren't willing to do that. That's why I said when you're a hobbyist versus when you're serious, I got on stage and the audience checked me. Like the audience, when I say check me, like they put their stamp of approval, their check, like you're good. You need to keep doing this. So the audience did that. I started getting checks, et cetera, et cetera. So for those of you listening, for those of you watching, you're like, man, I think I want to do this. Pay somebody. Pay somebody to give you some ideas, execute the ideas, and then your results will tell you what you should do next. And if you don't
Mm.
do that, then you're going to be on this continuous loop of maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And then you'll be old after that. And you won't want to do anything but be with your grandkids.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. You got to have that data, almost like what you said. Like, yeah, the when you put yourself out there, the situation is going to dictate what the next move is, because there's truly no blueprint to this. A lot of times people come into this and they're like, "Hey, I just want the plan to get this done." And what I told people is that, hey, because you're the product as a speaker, I can't do exactly what Odell did because I'm not Odell. I'm Mills. And so I have a different charisma and everything else, and you have a different charisma. And so with that, it is not going to look the same because people are going to respond differently because of who we are. Because as a speaker, and I would just say as a person that's looking to make an impact, you have your own vibe, your own energy that you bring to it. So again, all great points. And so as we wrap up this interview, what do you have on the horizon? What do you got coming up that people may be interested in?
Well, I would say on the side of my career, after doing the 2 TEDx talks and talking to people that are involved in that, I just like bigger stages, bigger platforms. That's where my focus is now. Just getting on bigger, broader stages, broader platforms, and being seen. That is the number one thing for me. Secondarily, for people that are interested, I will help you get a TEDx talk.
Mm,
And what I mean by that, just so we're clear, nobody can guarantee you a TEDx talk. So if you see somebody or anybody promoting, like I guarantee that you, no, they can give you the steps to do it. Some of them even have services where they apply for you and you do it, but those cost a lot. I have I have a very limited amount of bandwidth to help individuals. But what I want to do and what I've started doing on a small scale is just saying, hey, is this something that you want to do? And we have a conversation. It doesn't cost you anything. Just have a conversation if it's something you want to do. And the reason why I lead you to TED first is because there is a window. Even if you got selected for a TEDx talk today, Mills, it would be months before you ever did it.
right.
So in that window, what are we doing? In that window, we're meeting people that hire speakers. Because when you get a TEDx talk with me, I'm going to show you how to get a return on your investment. That's why I call the program
Mm,
red dot ROI. Because how do you get paid before you get on the red dot? How do you get paid once you're on it? And then how do you get paid afterwards? So that's what I focus on. If you just want to get a TEDx talk like as a bucket list item that you want to check off, then you know that's not what I talk about. I help people monetize it. And within that, what we do is we narrow down what your big idea is and how that connects to your personal brand. because what you're really selling when you're on that TEDx stage is your personal brand. And so you have to have something to loop for people to loop back. Because if you do a great TEDx talk, they're going to be searching you. What are they going to find? And so what I do is I make sure that when they're searching you after you do a great talk, they find a way to work with you and they find an opportunity to pay you. So if that's something you're interested in, just you can reach out to me on social media and we have a conversation. And I'm not one of those people that does the whole bait and switch. Oh well, yeah, I'll give you a master plan. I want to talk to you to one, see if I like you enough to want to work with you, and to see if you're a real person and you're not a grifter yourself. Because Mills, I know you've ran into people where it's like you're just trying to game me or game the system or trying to
Right.
figure out a loophole. There isn't one. Spoiler alert. And then if you actually have the means to pay me. So we have those conversations. It usually takes like maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And then we move forward or we don't. So that's what I have for those watching. Just hit me up, say, hey, I saw you on Mill's show and just wanted to chat with you for those 15 20 minutes, and then we'll talk about that.
Odell is definitely a guy you want to hit up. He's a pro's pro. He knows his stuff, very professional, and he'll take good care of you. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. And so again, I wouldn't say that if I didn't hadn't witnessed it from him. His materials, I've bought materials from him in the past. They are top notch compared to other speakers that I've bought materials from. And so again, hey, you get a ringing endorsement from me.
I
And so
appreciate
Odell,
that.
I thank you so much for coming on my show. It was definitely a pleasure talking with you and everything. And I'm kind of rebranding everything in my group. We're going from message to movement. And so Odell is the man. If you have some intention of going from a message to a movement, hey, you might want to reach out to Odell because again, he knows his stuff and he's very big on using your voice to promote your business, your cause, or whatever else. He knows what he's doing. And so, again, he really fits with the whole rebranding of the group. And so, again, Odell, I thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate you, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing God's work, everybody.
Y'all take care. Change happens one person at a time, 1 second at a time. Let's go.